Good day, everyone. Today we'll be discussing Mendelian inheritance. So, from the previous topics, Gregor Mendel studied the garden pea or the pea sum sativum to investigate the natural laws governing plant hybrids. So, hybridization experiment involved a cross between the purple flowered plant and a white flowered plant. So, Gregor Mendel did a series of breeding experiments on pea plants to describe the units of inheritance. So, yung units na yon ang tawag is elementen. So, Mendel inferred the existence of elementen from the appearance of his plants. So, although he knew nothing of the DNA or the cells or chromosomes, his laws explained trait transmission in any diploid species. So, bakit pinili ni Mendel yung mga pea plants? Una, it is easy to carry out crosses. So, it's either pwede siyang self-fertilization or cross-fertilization. Available in several varieties in which a character existed in two distinct variants. So what is the cross or the hybridization? So it is the mating between two distinct individuals with different characteristics. So an analysis of their offspring, yun yung hybrids, may be conducted to understand how traits are passed from parent to offspring. So ano yung dalawang types of fertilization? We have self-fertilization and cross-fertilization. So, self-fertilization is the union of male and female gametes derived from the same parent, while the cross naman involves union of male and female gametes coming from separate individuals. So, what is the difference between character and variant? So, character, yun yung general characteristic of an organism. Yung variant ay yung specific properties of a character. So, eye color is a character, tapos kung yung color nun, yung blue eyes, is the trait or yung variant. Diba iba't iba naman tayo ng kulay ng mata. Meron black, may brown, may green, may blue. So, yun yung pinaka-trait mo or variant. So, paano ginawa ni Mendel yung dun sa Pisum sativum? First, he removed stamen from purple flower, tapos transfer niya yung sperm-bearing pollen from the stamen of the white flower to egg-bearing carpel of the purple flower. Tapos, nag-pollinate yun. Tapos, yung seeds na yun ay tinanim niya. Tapos, yun yung in-examine niya ng mga offspring. So, Mendel studied 7 characteristics. So, mamaya makikita natin kung ano yung 7 characteristics na yun. So, Mendel tested these pea strains to determine if their characteristics bred true, which means that a trait did not vary in appearance from generation to generation. So, what does true breeding strain or true breeding line mean? So, a variety that continues to produce the same trait after several generations of self-fertilization. So, what are these 7 characters or characteristics? We have the height, the flower color, flower position, seed color, seed shape, pod color, and pod shape. So each character was found as 2 variants that were different from each other. So ito yon. Sa flower color, purple at white. For the seed, merong yellow at green. Ang seed shape, merong round and wrinkled. Pod color, we have green and yellow also. Pod shape, may smooth and may bumpy. Yung flower position, we have mid-stem and end of the stem. While the plant height, we have D, tall, and short. So, yan lang din ulit yun. So, di ba previously na-discuss na natin yung meaning ng genotype and phenotype. So, ulitin lang ulit natin. Yung genotype is the allele present. So, the allele combination in an individual. So, pag genotype, pair of letters ang ginagamit to represent genotypes for one particular trait. Lagi siyang 2 letters. Bakit? Kasi one code trait comes from the mother and one from the father. So, lagi kang merong isa galing kay mother, isa galing kay father. So, there are 3 possible genotypes. These letters are just representation. So, merong parehong dalawang big T. Yung isa is may big T, small t, tapos yung sunod is dalawang small t. So, anong ibig sabihin pag dalawang big T? So, pag dalawang big T, di ba pareha sila? So, pag parehas, ibig sabihin homozygous. So, ibig sabihin pure yung genotype niya. Pag merong isang malaki at isang maliit, ang tawag dun is heterozygous. So, ibig sabihin may hybrid na siya. Pag naman yung dalawang maliit naman na letter, ibig sabihin homozygous din yun. Pure din yung kanyang genotype. So, pag phenotype naman, ito yung nakikita mo physically. Yung nakikita mo sa kanya like blue eyes, brown color, yung yellow flower, yung kaya mong i-describe pag nakita mo siya. So, ang allele naman is an alternate form of a gene or other term siya is a gene variant. So, the alleles for a trait are located at the corresponding positions on the homologous chromosomes. So, the example nito is in this picture makikita mo na meron two hotdog shapes represent a pair of homologous chromosomes. So, homologous chromosomes are the same size and have the same genetic information. Each letter in the diagram stands for an allele. What's important to notice is that the letters can be in different forms, merong capital or lowercase. That is what we mean by allele. And that the letters are lined up in the same order along each hotdog. I mean the homologous chromosomes. So the A forms are in corresponding positions. So are the B forms, the C alleles, the D alleles, and so on. So getting back to our abbreviations, we could use C, big C, for the curly alleles and small c for straight alleles. So a person's genotype with respect to hair texture has three possibilities. So pwede siya na homozygous na parehas big C, ibig sabihin yun ay curly. Pwede din naman na may big C, may small c, yun yung heterozygous. Tapos pag naman parehas small c, homozygous din siya. So, ano ibig sabihin ng homozygous? So, homozygous is a condition into which two alleles for a given gene are the same. So, they have two identical alleles in the genotype. Pag sinabi namang heterozygous, it is a condition in which two alleles for a given gene are different from each other. So, Mendel called it non-true breeding or the hybrid. So let's proceed to the Mendel's law of inheritance. So may tatlong Mendel's law of inheritance. We have law of dominance, law of segregation, and law of independent assortment. So first, law of dominance. So law of dominance says that when organisms pure for constructing traits are crossed, all their offspring will show the dominant trait. Law of dominance states that in a cross parents that are pure for contrasting traits, only one form of the trait will appear. So, Mendel observed that some traits mask the other and are said to be dominant and the masked trait is recessive. So, ibig sabihin nun, kung alin kumbaga yung mas malakas na trait, yun yung mag-a-appear sa'yo. Kunwari, ang father mo is matangos ang ilong, yung mother mo is pango. Nung ipinanganak ka at nung lumaki ka, ang ilong mo ay naging matangos. So, ibig sabihin, mas dominant yung dun sa father side mo na matangos na ilong at yun namang pangon na sa mother mo, yun yung recessive trait. So, while Mendel was crossing or reproducing his pea plants over and over and over again, he noticed something interesting. When he crossed pure plants with pure short plants, all the new pea plants, or referred to as the F1 generation, were tall. So similarly, crossing pure yellow-seeded pea plants and pure green-seeded pea plants produced an F1 generation of all yellow-seeded pea plants. The same was true for the other pea traits. So kung alin yung mas dominant, yun yung mag-appear. So what does this mean by the P generation and the F1 generation? P generation, it is the first generation in the genetic cross experiment. Other name niya is the parental generation. F1 generation naman is the first filial generation. It is the offspring produced from a cross of parental generations. So law of dominance, what does it mean by dominant and recessive? Dominant is the allele whose expression overpowers the effect of a second form of the same gene. So it is represented by a capital letter. Pag naman recessive, it is the allele whose effects are concealed or nakatago in offspring by dominant allele in the pair. So it is represented by a lowercase letter. So dito, di ba pag sinabing big letter, dominant siya. Pag small letter siya yung recessive. There is a gene in the DNA of pea plants that controls plants' height. One form of the gene codes for tall and the other allele for plant height codes for short. Um, Suppose that a gene contains an allele for red color na R and a allele for white color na small r. So ano mag-a-appear daw or anong color ng flower ang maproproduce? Yung red. Bakit yung red? Kasi yung red, siya yung big letter na R, siya yung dominant. Mas mag-a-appear yung dominant kaysa dun sa recessive na white color, small r. So, what is a Punnett square? A Punnett square is a diagram of how two alleles of a gene combine in a cross between two individuals. So, it is a diagrammatic method in which the gametes that the two parents can produce are aligned next to a square grid as a way to predict the types of offspring the parents will produce and in what proportions. So the Punnett square, so the Mendel discovered love dominance by crossing a pure pea plant and a pure short pea plant in symbols. So ganyan. So big letter nga is the dominant while the small letter is recessive. So ituturo ko na lang to sa inyo sa ating live discussion kung paano siya ginagawa. Yan. So, the genotype and the phenotype, yung genotype class, ito yung may big T, small t, ganyan. Tapos yung magiging phenotype mo na, titingnan mo doon kung siya ba ay tall or kung siya ba ay short. So, a helpful thing to recognize, anytime two parent organisms look different for a trait, and all of their offsprings resemble only one of the parents, you are dealing with Mendel's laws of dominance. So all the offsprings are heterozygous for the trait. One parent is homozygous dominant and the other is homozygous recessive. So next we have the Mendel laws of segregation. So the two copies of a gene segregate or separate from each other during transmission from one parent to offspring. Therefore, only one copy of gene is found in a gamete. So during fertilization, two gametes combine randomly, so potentially producing different allelic combinations. So yan, so magse-separate sila. So Mendel laws of segregation. So Mendel took two of the F1 or the filial generation, which are the tall, and crosses them. So the cross involves two hybrid parents on big T small e and big T and small e. So when you split the genotype letters and put one above each column and one in front of each row, you have segregated the alleles for a specific trait. So in real life, this happens during a process of cell division called meiosis, leading to the production of gametes or the sex cells. So sometimes the term gametogenesis is used instead of meiosis. So ganyan. So the parent P-plan, so tuturo ko na lang din sa inyo yan pag meron na tayong live discussion. So a helpful thing to recognize anytime two parents have the same phenotype for a trait, but some of their offspring look different with respect to that trait, the parents must be hybrid for that trait. Ibig sabihin ng hybrid, heterozygous lang siya, hindi siya homozygous. So last, Mendel's law, we have the law of independent assortment. So it states that for two genes on different chromosome, the inheritance of one does not influence the chance of inheriting the other. So ibig sabihin nga nun, independently yung assortment because they are packaged into a gametes at a random order. So involves what's known as the dihybrid cross, meaning that the parents are hybrid for two different traits. So example dito is the seed shape and seed color. So the genotypes of the parent pea plants would be um, heterozygous na S, heterozygous na Y, tapos yung i-cross nyo with heterozygous na S and heterozygous na Y. So split the genotype letters and come up with the possible gametes for each parent. So keep in mind that a gamete should get half as many the total letters as the parent and only one of each letter. So there are four possible letters. We have big S, big Y, big S, small s, big Y, and small s, small y. So these gametes are going outside the p square above the four columns and in front of the four rows. So yan, pag pinag-cross mo siya, ganyan yung mangyayari. So yan yung law of independent assortment. So medyo mas madami siya. So pag sinummarize mo na siya, so makikita mo sa phenotype, merong 9 round yellow seeds, 3 round green seeds, 3 wrinkled yellow seeds, and 1 wrinkled green seeds. So the mode of inheritance, so rules that explain the common patterns that inherited characteristics follow as they are passed through the families. So it makes possible to calculate the probability that a particular couple will have a child who inherits a particular condition. So dito makikita yung affect the modes of inheritance depend on whether a trait is transmitted on an autosome or sex chromosome and whether an allele is recessive or dominant. So what is autosomal dominant inheritance? So a single abnormal gene on the first 22 non-sex chromosomes or yung autosomal chromosomes from one parent causes the child to have the disorder. So pag dominant inheritance, ibig sabihin yung abnormal gene from one parent can cause disease dun sa child. So the abnormal gene dominates even when matching gene from other parent is normal. So if a child inherits the changed copy of the gene, he or she is affected and therefore has the disorder. Pero if a child inherits the normal copies of the gene, he will not inherit the disorders. Ito for example, una muna doon tayo kay mother at kay father. So, si father daw is affected and si mother is unaffected. So, kita mo dun sa gene ni father, merong isa na change or yung may abnormality. Si mother, unaffected. So, i-cross natin to, ipapani square natin to. So, ilang percent dun sa kanila mga anak yung pwedeng maapektuhan nung sa affected dad. So, 50% nung mga anak nila yung pwede ma-affect dun sa affected dad. So criteria for an autosomal dominant trait. So males and females can be affected. Males and females can transmit the trait with equal frequency. Successive generations are affected and transmission stops after a generation in which no one is affected. So yan. So a parent with an autosomal dominant condition has a 50% chance, kakasabi ko lang kanina, of having a child with the condition. So what are the some autosomal dominant Mendelian disorders in human? We have the achondroplasia, ano yun? Dwarfism. Ibig sabihin malilit yung limbs, pero normal yung size ng head at trunk. Familial hypercholesterolemia. Ito yung very high serum cholesterol, tapos nagkakos siya ng heart disease. Huntington disease, it is a progressive uncontrollable movements and personality changes beginning in the middle age. Lactose intolerance, inability to digest lactose. Pag inom sila nung meron mga lactose na drinks, nagkakos yun ng cramps after ingestion. So we also have Marfan syndrome. Ito naman is long limbs, sunken chest, lens dislocation, spindly fingers, and weakened aorta. We also have the myotonic dystrophy. It is a progressive muscle wasting. Neurofibromatosis, brown skin marks, benign tumors beneath the skin. We also have polycystic kidney disease. It is cyst or yung bukol sa kidneys. So, anong possible? Meron siyang bloody urine, high blood pressure, and abdominal pain. We also have polydactyly, yung mga extra fingers sa toes and sa fingers or toes. We also have porphyria variegata. It causes red urine, fever, abdominal pain, headache, coma, and death. Ano naman yung autosomal recessive inheritance? So pag autosomal recessive, in an autosomal recessive disorder, two change copies of a gene are inherited, one from each parent, which causes the child to have the disorder. So the child is called affected because he or she has the disorder. So mai-inherit niya lang yung sakit if parehas magulang yung meron na recessive. Yung isa kasi kanina is dominant, so maalin lang sa isang parent, basta affected yung father, pwedeng makuha ni nung baby or nung anak nila. Dito, di ba sinabi ko na kailangan dalawa or yung both parents yung dapat affected para magkaroon din ng sakit yung anak. So, once naiisa lang yung affected or once iisa lang yung na-inherit nung child, ang tawag sa kanya is carrier. So, a carrier has only one change copy of the gene, so they are called carriers because they do not show any signs of the disorders. Although hindi nga sila nagsho-show ng any sign, half pa din or carrier pa din siya nung disorder or nung abnormality. So, yan yon. So, parehas yung father at mother ay affected, pero recessive lang yun sa kanilang dalawa. So, ang expected outcome ng pregnancy ay 25% chance that a child is born with two normal genes, 50% is born with one normal and one abnormal, so ibig sabihin carrier siya, and 25% chance that the child is born with two abnormal genes, siya yung at risk dun sa sakit. So criteria for autosomal recessive trait. Males and females are affected. Affected males and females can transmit the gene unless it causes death before reproductive age. The trait can skip generations, and parents of an affected individual are heterozygous or have the trait. Most conditions occur unexpectedly in families. So marriage between relatives introduces consanguinity, which means shared blood. So yun increases the likelihood of inherited disease because the probability of two relatives inheriting the same disease causing recessive allele is greater than that of two unrelated people having the same allele by chance. So what are the autosomal recessive Mendelian disorders in human? First, we have ataxia telangiectasia. It is a facial rash. Ano symptoms? Facial rash, poor muscular coordination, involuntary eye movements, high risk for cancer, sinus, and lung infection. We also have Batten disease, causes visual loss, developmental delay, and seizures. We also have cystic fibrosis. It is a lung infection. So meron siyang poor fat digestion, male infertility, and poor weight gain and salty sweat. We also have familial hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, overgrowth of the heart muscles causing sudden death in adults. We also have Gaucher's disease, swollen liver and spleen, causes anemia, internal bleeding, and balance. We also have hemochromatosis. Pag sabing hemochromatosis, increase ang iron sa katawan. So, high risk ng infection, liver damage, and excess skin pigmentation. We also have maple syrup urine disease. So it causes lethargy, vomiting, irritability, mental retardation, coma, and death in infancy. We also have phenylketonuria. It causes mental retardation and fair skin. Sickle cell disease, joint pains, spleen, and high risk of infection. Tay Sachs disease naman, it causes nervous system degeneration. So that's the end of part 1. Let's proceed to the extensions and exceptions to the Mendel laws. So factors that alter Mendelian phenotypic ratios. First, we have the lethal allele combinations. So a genotype or allele combinations that causes death. So in humans, early acting lethal alleles causes spontaneous abortion. So when a man and women each carries a recessive lethal allele for the same gene, each pregnancy has a 25% chance of a spontaneous abortion. So double dose of dominant allele is lethal. Multiple alleles naman, a person has two alleles for any autosomal gene, one allele on each homolog. So considered in carrier testing for cystic fibrosis. In complete dominance naman, the heterozygous phenotype is intermediate between that of either the homozygote. So example is a snapdragon plant. It is a red flower plant of genotype. Anong genotype niya? Pares big R cross to a white flower na small r plant can give a rise to a big R small r plant which has pink flowers. So the intermediate color is presumably due to the intermediate amount of the pigment. So parang in between, yun yung ibig sabihin ng incomplete dominant. Kasi kung complete dominant siya, ang maging kulay niya is color red. Pero dahil nga incomplete yung dominance niya, para naghalo or nagmix yung color nung red at white, so ang naging kulay niya ay pink. Ang magandang example din dito is familial hypercholesterolemia where a person with two disease-causing alleles lack receptors on the liver cells that take up low-density lipoprotein form of cholesterol from the blood. Codominance naman, different alleles are both expressed in a heterozygote, so the ABO blood group is based on the expression of codominant alleles. Epistasis or one gene mass or otherwise affects another phenotype. So an example dyan is a Bombay phenotype. So it results of two interacting genes, the I and H genes, the relationship of which affects the blood type. So in epistasis, the block gene is expressed, but something about the interaction of the encoded proteins inactivates or impairs one of them. We also have penetrance and expressivity. Penetrance, some individuals with a particular genotype do not have the associated phenotype. Expressivity, a genotype is associated with a phenotype of varying intensity. So example dyan is polydactyly. Pleiotropy, the phenotype includes many symptoms with different subsets in different individuals. An example is porphyria variegata, an autosomal dominant pleiotropic inborn error of metabolism affected several members of the royal family. So it causes red appearance of urine. Phenocopy naman, an environmentally caused condition, has symptoms and recurrence patterns similar to those of a known inherited. Genotypic heterogeneity, different genotypes are associated with the same phenotype. So maternal inheritance and mitochondrial genes. So mitochondria in human cells contain several copies of a mini chromosome that carries just 37 genes. So mitochondrial genes are maternally inherited, so only females transmit mitochondrial genes, while males can inherit such trait but cannot pass it on. So features of a mitochondrial DNA: no crossing over, no DNA repair, maternal inheritance, many copies per mitochondrion and per cell, high exposure to oxygen-free radicals, no cystones, no introns. Mitochondrial disorders, a major symptom nun is fatigue. So we have the mitochondrial myopathies. It is an inherited illness that produces weak and flaccid muscles and intolerance to exercise. We also have Leber optic myopathy. A defect in energy-related gene can produce symptoms other than fatigue. Symptoms usually begin in an early adulthood with a loss of central vision. So we also have alloplasmic transfer. It is the new technique that can enable women, woman to avoid transmitting a mitochondrial disorder. So mitochondria from a healthy woman's oocyte are injected into the oocyte of the woman who is infertile. Then, bolstered oocyte is fertilized in the laboratory dish by partner sperm and the zygote is implanted in her uterus.